Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafb.com.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all the wonderful products we enjoy, brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau.
Looking for a unique Virginia beverage? Try Virginia Mead. Chef John Maxwell creates a simple holiday dessert treat featuring Virginia eggs. And we visit scenic Rappahannock County to learn more about that community's farm economy.
Welcome back, everyone. We're coming to you from Blackheath Meadery in Richmond, Virginia, and it seems appropriate that one of the oldest alcoholic beverages is being produced here in the Old Dominion. It's been more than a decade since craft breweries took off in popularity, and now Mead is picking up momentum.
Mead predates all other fermented beverages, even beer. Mead has been consumed by people of all cultures, from ancient Egypt and Greece through India and Africa. Some historians say it dates back 9,000 years. So what is mead? This agricultural product is a mixture of fermented honey, water, and yeast. It can include other inputs like apples, herbs, and even peppers.
So now you've got this dry mead that's in the range of a normal wine. So from there you can sweeten it, you can add other fruit. So we like to say here that mead has the creativity of craft beer, but the elegance of wine. The alcohol content's about the same. It's got beautiful clarity, nice smooth finish. And so yeah, it's in that world for sure.
Glenn Lavender and his family moved to Williamsburg from Canada and opened Silverhand Meadery in 2014. Customers can taste their many offerings, which include a honey tasting to train the palate. While considered a drink of kings, honey-based mead is creating a buzz with its meteoric growth. Mead production is still dominated by small meaderies, operations that often started in a garage or a basement. But more meaderies are opening every year.
There's another meadery in Hopewell that's getting ready to open their doors, so I think they're having like a sneak peek or something. So, and then actually our friends at Blackheath Meadery in Richmond, they're expanding, so he's getting a nice big production facility so that he can move his production out of his tasting room, and his tasting room can just be his tasting room.
The American Mead Makers Association estimates a new meadery opens on average every 3 days. Today, there are 520 meaderies in operation in 45 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. Virginia is host to more than a dozen, with more coming on tap. The federal government lumps mead production with wine production, so overall numbers are difficult to come by. The increase in demand for the beverage is not only good news for meaderies in the state, but also beekeepers and fruit producers.
So we're always on the hunt for more Virginia suppliers. So we've got a couple of suppliers in Virginia where we get our honey, and they're both wildflower honeys, and they have different flavors. Wildflower meaning the bees got the nectar from a lot of different types of flowers. So we call it polyfloral as well.
One misconception about mead is that it has to be sweet because it's made from honey. Well, that's not necessarily the case. Just like wine, mead can vary in sweetness, ranging from sweet, semi-sweet, and down to dry. It pairs well with most any food item, so it's perfect to serve with your holiday meals. In fact, some of the sweetest meads only contain about half of the sugar of a can of soda. With so many different styles and taste of mead, producers say there's surely one for everyone. To find out more about Silverhand Meadery, you can go to their website at silverhandmeadery.com.
Virginians have made ale, cider, whiskey, and wine since 1609, but the modern wine industry rebirth came more than 40 years ago in and around Charlottesville. Today, there are more than 300 local wineries in the Old Dominion. As the wine industry became more successful, interest in producing other alcoholic beverages also increased. Today, more than 250 craft breweries are also scattered around Virginia, some featuring local farm products. Craft distilleries and cideries are also on the rise. Meaderies are another innovation on the path to producing local craft beverages in Virginia.
Farm Bureau is the insurance provider of choice for farmers. But did you know all Virginians can benefit? In fact, most of our members are not farmers. As a member, you are supporting worthy causes like local Virginia food banks and the Ag in the Classroom program. Your $40 membership will easily pay for itself with the many savings options as well. Farm Bureau is made for Virginians. To learn more about the membership advantage, go to vafb.com or visit your local Farm Bureau.
You're going to need me. You're going to need us. All of us. You're going to need our technical skills, our math, our engineering skills. You're going to need our help with your water, your air, your food. You're going to need our organizational skills, our problem-solving skills. You're going to need our determination, our honesty, our compassion. You're going to need the next generation of leaders to face the challenges the future will bring. And we promise we'll be there when you need us.
Chris Mullins with Virginia Cooperative Extension has worked with many local growers. In this classic episode from 2013, Chris shows us how gardeners are working with collards from the ground up.
Well, hello. Today we're in Richmond, Virginia, at Mr. and Mrs. Sturdiffin's farm. It's an urban farm, a very, very large garden here. And this effort for this whole garden is not just the Sturdiffins, but it's a group of friends that get together at this location and other locations around the city to work on gardening. In the spring and the fall, they raise various crops. And they also do education. They work with the community to educate youth and adults about gardening, about collards, which we're going to talk about today, and about other things. Because this time of the year, Thanksgiving, Christmas time, people are very interested in collard greens, and everybody knows about that southern tradition. On New Year's Day, you eat collard greens, black-eyed peas, and cornbread. So we're going to talk a little bit about production, but I want to introduce Mr. Dennis Harvey. Dennis, what have you got going on here in front of us? What are we seeing?
Chris, we have a variety of cabbage growing, and 'tis the season for collards. We have a variety of collard greens growing also, and I'd like to show you some of our collard greens growing this season.
Let's go look at them.
Let's check them out. We planted these collards in the middle of August this year.
Okay. And did you put seeds in the ground, or did you put transplants in the ground?
No, we actually started the seeds in containers, and we waited about 6 weeks until they got transplant size, and we transplanted the plants out in the garden. And we planted them about 18 inches apart.
18 inches apart. Well, they're looking wonderful. Now, if I was a gardener going to do this and I planted them in August, how many days do they take before you start harvesting them?
Good. We're going to be harvesting these in a few days. It takes an average of 60, 75 days, and we'll be harvesting these beginning tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's been about 60 days since we planted them.
So, and these can take some light frost or some frost. So they'll go all the way through in Virginia, in central Virginia, to in December, right?
They will. The cabbage and the collards are very hardy plants, so we'll be harvesting these up through December, January, if there are any left.
If there are any left.
Yeah.
Now, do you cut the whole plant down, or do you take off leaves, or how do y'all do that?
No, Chris, sometimes we'll cut the whole plant down. If we get a large one, we'll take a knife and cut the whole plant down. But normally we would start with the best looking leaves, starting at the bottom up, and then just break them off.
Okay.
Break them off and do the leaves, the best looking leaves.
Okay.
Until we get enough to make a meal.
Dennis, that was great the way you harvest, and now we've walked up here and looking at some of the different varieties. What were we looking at down there, and what are we looking at here?
We were looking at the Georgia Southern variety, and now we're in my favorite area. This is the We call it a yellow cabbage collard. It's an old heirloom collard that's been in my family over 100 years. It's heirloom because someone has to keep this seed, let the collard mature, collect the seed each year, and we can grow no other collard around it. It's not a very difficult plant to grow. We plant them in August, give them water, mostly give them water, and give them light pesticide. And of course, we use my favorite tool, a garden hoe, to cultivate them. And we worry a little bit about the pests. We just found some of the cabbage looper worm, and we do use a light pesticide or actually come out and hand pick them.
Right.
But other than that, we can have collards all during the season. Whenever we're ready, just step out back, grab some collards, fresh to the table.
So overall, it's a fairly easy crop to grow. As long as the land is prepped properly and you do the production practices that we've talked about here, it's probably a little easier than some of the things like tomatoes even.
It is.
Good. Well, we're really appreciative of you letting us come here and you talking to us about all the things that you all are doing here. And for more information about collard green production, please contact your local county extension office. From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins. We'll see you next time.
From the Ground Up is presented with the generous advice and assistance of Virginia Cooperative Extension. Visit their website at ext.vt.edu.
Want a simple dessert treat for the holidays? Chef John Maxwell has just the thing. That's up next in the Heart of the Home.
And now, a sneak peek into a day in the life of a Virginia dairy cow. They get their day started. They have some lunch. Get some exercise. Spend time with their friends. And then end their day with dairy sweet dreams. Real dairy, real life, real delicious.
Really? Buzz, what's up, man? You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point there, Smokey.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Any good cook knows that eggs are a key ingredient in baking, but what if you put the egg in the center of the dish? Chef John Maxwell shows us his classic recipe for egg custard pie in the Heart of the Home.
Hi, and welcome to the Heart of the Home. I'm Chef John Maxwell, and we're here at Meadow Hall in Meadow Event Park in Doswell, Virginia. And every week we get to play with some great Virginia food. Now, it's not a secret, but Virginia's got great dairies. We're going to use some milk in this one. We're going to make and some eggs. We're going to be making a custard pie. The official title of this is Grandma's Custard Pie. All right, so we're going to get started with that. I've got some egg whites here. Right, that I've already separated out, and I'm going to brush this. This is a store-bought pie crust. I've already shown you on a show earlier in this how to make a pie crust, so if you want to make your own, you can refer to that or your own recipe, whatever. But I'm brushing this, the sides and the bottom, with the egg whites. Now what this will do is this will keep that wet custard from sogging out the crust as it bakes. It'll firm up and seal the bottom. And I've got to scald this milk a little bit. Now this is scalded now, and that's all I'm looking for, is for it to be scalded milk. So I'll turn that off, and then I'm going to come over here, whisk these egg yolks a little bit. I'm putting it on this towel so it doesn't spin around on me. So I'm going to take this over here, right? And I'm just going to temper the eggs and the milk in here. I don't want to go in too fast because the real hot milk will curdle the eggs. We'll have scrambled egg pie instead of custard pie. So this just takes a second or two. Once I get it up to a certain temperature, then I can go a lot faster. By scalding the milk, we allow it to go into solution better. It binds with the eggs better, so that we'll have a true custard when we're finished. All right, so now I've got this hot milk and egg mixture over here. I'm going to add the sugar. And I'm going to add a little bit of nutmeg. Nutmeg is a pretty intense flavor. You don't want to add too much, especially in baking, because the heat of the oven will help bring that out. So you don't want to overpower it with nutmeg. But it's really good in this pie. There's a little more sugar. You can tell I don't like carrying sugar home. Okay, so the sugar is going to dissolve a little bit in this hot milk. All right, and I'm going to add some vanilla. Just a couple of drops. Okay, and now this is going to go into the pie crust. And I'm going to pop this in the oven. Now I pulled this one out of that oven. It's perfect. It's nice and jiggly. The crust is nice and light brown. I've got one here that I had cooked earlier so that I could handle it, right? And it's set up here, and I can't tell you how good it tastes because I haven't tasted it quite yet, but I'm going to hurry up and get out of here so I can have a taste. This is a Grandma's egg custard pie, great for the holidays. So join us next week on Heart of the Home, where we get to play with great Virginia food.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com, as well as on Chef Maxwell's website at chefjohnmaxwell.com. The number of eggs produced in Virginia varies from year to year depending on market demand. In 2017, 691 million eggs were produced, worth just under $90 million to producers. White egg birds will lay 260 to 285 eggs a year and eat 3 pounds of feed for every dozen eggs they produce. Brown egg layers will produce about 20 fewer eggs a year and eat slightly more feed. There's no nutritional difference between brown and white eggs, just the color. Eggs are produced on a large scale in 3 locations in the state: Abington, Harrisonburg, and Southside Virginia. And you can purchase local eggs at any farmer's market.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
There's still parts of Northern Virginia that are not crossed by an interstate highway. In this week's County Agricultural Close-Up, Dave Miller takes us to scenic Rappahannock County and shares with us their story about how important farming is to their community.
Nestled just east of the Shenandoah National Park is Rappahannock County. Once part of the royal land grant to Lord Fairfax, in the 1700s, the land began to be settled by farmers. Farming remains the county's most important industry to this day.
It's hard to find a place in Rappahannock County that isn't pretty. Most of it is rocky and hilly. It's not very good crop country. People do it, but when you go through the Midwest and see the huge acreage, you know that we're just playing the game here. If you do have the access to land, it is good land for cattle.
Primarily grass-based agriculture, so we have a lot of beef cattle, as you've already heard. But historically, there's been an orchard industry here. So in the late 1800s all the way up until now, we've had a reasonably good apple industry here. So that business has contracted quite a bit, but we still have a few farmers that are selling apples.
There are 397 farms on almost 63,000 acres in Rappahannock County. Farmers here earn approximately $9 million a year raising crops and livestock. Beef cattle is the largest livestock sector by far, with 11,645 head of cattle. That's followed by poultry, horses, sheep, and goats. Fruit orchards represent the largest crop sector, followed by nursery products and vegetables. Hay is also a valuable commodity raised to support the large cattle sector.
To me, this is the coolest part about Rappahannock County. It's the open space and the views. And I think beef cattle production allows us to keep this, and especially when it's forage based. You know, if you had a bunch of feedlots, it wouldn't look quite as pretty. But forage based grazing type of production really allows us to keep this sort of natural beauty that's in Rappahannock County.
With the Shenandoah National Park to the west, there are plenty of outdoor recreation opportunities for visitors. This helps some growers who have pick-your-own operations or orchards, or just sell produce right from their farms. The customers come to them.
People come here to the orchard over the years. You know, my dad started in the early 50s, and we've always sold here at the orchard, but in the late 80s, we had other places, had trucking routes and had markets, other places we went to and all, but in the late 80s, we just kind of phased all the other things out and just went strictly selling on the farm.
The steeply sloped terrain here in Rappahannock County is perfect for orchards. The hills allow the fruit trees to generally remain above the freeze zones in late spring. Fruit growers bring in nearly $1 million a year from the sale of apples, nectarines, peaches, and plums. And there are a lot more vineyards here than there used to be.
There's probably 100 acres or so of vineyards in Rappahannock County now, and about a dozen wineries. So we have beef, we have apples, we have grapes.
When I started this vineyard back in 1990, there was just only a handful of wineries. When we started the winery itself, decided, hey, we have enough grapes, we can sustain ourselves in making wine. That was back in 2004. We were like winery number 106 or something like that. And now there are close to 300 wineries in Virginia. What we're selling to these people is, come out here, you can not only taste Virginia wines and find out how good they really are, but we're gonna give you an experience. You're teaching people. And I love that. I love that aspect of it.
Farmers in Rappahannock County will tell you they're not getting rich, but life here is very satisfying as long as you can bring in enough money to pay the bills. Change is coming, but not too quickly yet.
I've lived here all my life, and it's a beautiful place, and it's a good place to raise cattle. With the environment, the grass, the temperature. You know, one of the big things that's changed for me is traffic. It's hard to believe, but we get a lot of hikers and different things, and just moving stuff up and down the road has gotten to be kind of a chore at times.
When you finish cutting hay, at the end of the day, you turn around, look back, and there it is. 2 days later, it's up in bales, and at the end of a week, you look back across 3 or 4 fields, and it's done. You know, it's immediate gratification. You know, you're not waiting a year to see the fruits of your labors.
Well, the apples, I think in this area, they just have a better flavor. I mean, the mountain soil and all, and they just do better than they will in flat ground. And
because the area is so pretty, and they're only 3 counties away from Washington, D.C., land prices are high in Rappahannock County. That makes it difficult for young farmers to get started, and low commodity prices keep large profits at bay, whether they raise apples, cattle, or vegetables. But most of these farmers wouldn't consider living or working anywhere else. In Rappahannock County, Virginia, I'm Dave Miller.
That's going to do it for this edition of Real Virginia. We're so glad you could join us to celebrate the bounty Virginia has to offer. Whether it's in your home, your garden, or your landscape, we are proud to say that this is Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay.